Hello students. So we'll start today with new chapter, and the chapter's name is Federalism. Clear? The earlier chapter was about power sharing. So what is federalism? Let us get back to the contrast between Belgium and Sri Lanka that we saw in the last chapter. You would recall that one of the key changes made in the constitution of Belgium was to reduce the power of central government and not to give this power to the regional governments. That means what? If you take the example of Belgium, there what happened? All the powers were not with the central government, as some of the powers were also given to the state governments. In order to do what? In order to balance both of these powers. That means the power should be equally vested in the hands of state government also and in the central government also. Regional governments existed in Belgium even earlier. They had their roles and powers, but all these powers were given to these governments and could be withdrawn by the central government. So earlier what was the system in Belgium? Earlier the system of power was given to both the central and state government, but there was a power of central government that whenever these powers, the central government if thinks that this power should be withdrawn from the state government, that could have easily done by the central government. So it was like what? It was the monopoly of central government. So after that what happened? The change that took place in 1993 was that the regional governments were given the constitutional powers, that they were no longer dependent on the central government. Thus, Belgium shifted from a unitary to a federal form of government. Clear? So, when this system of government changed actually, earlier the system of governance was what? The unitary form of government was there in Belgium. That means what? All the powers were in the hands of central government. But after 1993, it took the form of federal government. And when it took the form of federal government in 1993, what was the result? The powers were shared, or the powers were equally distributed between both the central and state government. So after that, what happened? After 1993, Belgium started having the federal form of government. So, but Sri Lanka continues to be, for all practical purposes, a unitary system where the national government has all the powers. Tamil leader wants Sri Lanka to become a federal system too. But in the case of Sri Lanka, what is the scenario right there? Sri Lanka is called as what? Unitary system. Unitary system means all the powers will be in the hands of the central government. But the Tamil leaders over there wants what? That Sri Lanka should also be provided with a federal form of government, where what will happen? The distribution of power will be equally divided between the central and state. Clear? So after this, federalism is a system of government in which the power is divided between a central authority and various constituent units of the country. So if we tell about federalism, you can define federalism as what? You can define federalism that it is a system of government in which the power is divided between a central authority. That means central government and various constituent units of the country. Suppose I give you an example related to our country India, where federalism is followed or federal form of government is there, in which what happens? The power is divided between a central authority. That means the central government is there in India, and along with that various constituent units of the country. That means what? Various state governments are there. It can be related to these constituent units. That means the number of states and union territories, and along with that one central authority. That means power is divided between a central government and the various state governments in India. Clear? So this is known as federalism. Usually a federation has two levels of government, as I have told. One is the central and another one is the state. One is the government for the entire country, that is usually responsible for a few subjects of common national interest. Understood? So as it has two levels of government, one is the government for the entire country. One means the entire country, means you can tell this form of government as the central government, that is usually responsible for few subjects of common national interest. That means what? This central government will be responsible for what? For any problem that is related to nation. That means not for a particular state. The central government will be responsible for a particular problem of the whole country, not of a particular state. Clear? That is known as the common national interest. The others are government at the level of province or states, and the other governments are what? State government, that look after what? Much of the day-to-day administering of their state. That means, suppose you take the example of state of Assam. So that will do what? The state of Assam means the head of the state is CM. He will look after his own state. That means he will administer whatever the day-to-day work is there to do. He will be busy with that. As the powers are divided, he will be busy in organizing the day-to-day activities of his state of Assam. And the central government will be responsible for the whole country, and suppose a particular problem of the whole country for a common national interest. Suppose you assume that any national problem is there, it will look after that national problem, and state government will be responsible for their respective states' work. So this way the federal form of government runs actually. Both these levels of government enjoy their power independent of the other. And in this federal form of government, what happens? Whatever the powers are given to the central government and the state government, they both enjoy their powers. They have been given the powers and they have been distributed like that, and they enjoy their powers, and they are not dependent on any of them. Suppose the state government is not dependent on the central government for powers. They have their own unique power, and the central government also have their own unique power, and in this way they enjoy their power at their respective places. Now coming to the next page, in this sense federations are contrasted with unitary governments. Under the unitary system, either there is only one level of government or subunits are subordinate to the central government. That means here a brief comparison has been made with unitary and federal. What is unitary actually? Unitary is the system in which there may be only one form of government. That means only central government may be there, and some of the powers may have been given to the units or subunits. But that power, as you can see that in unitary form all the powers are with central government. They can give power to their smaller units like the state government, but they can take the power back if they want. This is one of the most bad thing about the unitary form of government, that the central government is all in all. Clear? The central government can pass on orders to the provincial or local government, and what I have told earlier, that the central government is all in all and they can take back whatever they have given according to their mindset or according to the demands. If they want that okay, this power should be taken back, they will take it back in a unitary form of government. But the federal system, the central government cannot order the state government to do something. Clear? In federal form of government, the state government cannot be directed by the central government. The central government cannot say or order that do this and that. They don't have any power to do that. State government has power of its own for which it is not answerable to the central government. And firstly, what is there? The central government cannot order, and apart from that, the state government has its own power for which it is not answerable. Suppose the state government is doing something, it don't has to give answer to the central government regarding clarification. They don't have to give clarification regarding anything they do in their own state. Clear? So both these governments are separately answerable to the people. So in this way what happens, the central government, as they are responsible for common national interest, they will be answerable in their own way, and the state government will be answerable in their own way separately. Clear? For the people, the state government, suppose the state of Assam, the CM will be answerable to us in their own separate way, and the central government for whole of the country would be answerable, the PM would be answerable for us in a separate way. Clear? Now coming to the most important point, that is the features of federalism. So let us look at some of the key features of federalism. Number 1, there are 2 or more levels of government. That means what? As I have said earlier, central government and maybe there are state governments. How many states of India are there? Might be. That's why it is written there are 2 or more levels of government. That means central government along with the state governments of a particular country. Suppose, for example, take example of India. Now coming to number 2, different tiers of government govern the same citizens, but each tier has its own jurisdiction in specific matters of legislation, taxation and administration. That means what? Different tiers of government govern the same citizens. That means the central government are governing us, the state government are also governing us, but they have their own jurisdiction. That means limits. The central government has also some limits in governing us, the citizens, and the state government has also some jurisdiction limits. Specific area are there in which they can govern the general citizen of a country, and that limits are related to the specific matters of what? Be it central or be it state, they have their jurisdiction or they have their specific area in terms of what? Number 1 is legislation, number 2 is taxation, and number 3 is administration. So based on these 3 specific jurisdiction, the government works and govern us. Number 3, the jurisdiction of the respective levels of tiers of government are specified in the constitution. So the existence and authority of each tier of government is constitutionally guaranteed. After that, the jurisdiction of respective level of tiers of government are specified. Where it is specified actually? In the constitution. The government is governing the country according to the constitution. So under these only the jurisdiction are also mentioned there, and the jurisdiction are specified, and according to that only they are governing the country also, and they are guiding the citizens also. So the existence and authority of each tier of government is constitutionally guaranteed. So whatever the rights and whatever the duties are there, it is constitutionally guaranteed. That means it is been specifically specified in the Indian constitution or in any constitution of the world, wherever the federal form of government is followed. Clear? Now number 4, the fundamental provisions of the constitution cannot be unilaterally changed by one level of government. Such changes require the consent of both levels of government. Now whatever the fundamental provisions of the constitution are there, clear? Whatever the fundamental provisions are there, that cannot be unilaterally changed. Unilaterally means cannot be changed by a central government alone. If the fundamental provisions of the constitutions are to be changed, this has to be with the consent of both the levels of government. That means central government also and all the states government should sit and discuss, and after that, if they get it to some decisive decision, then only it can be, these fundamental provisions of the constitution can be changed. Otherwise it cannot be changed unilaterally. Alone the central government cannot make this change. Clear? Now coming to number 5, courts have the power to interpret the constitution and the powers of the different levels of government. The highest court acts as an umpire if disputes arise between different levels of government in exercise of their respective powers. That means what? Courts have the power to interpret the constitution and the powers of the different levels of government. The highest authority is the court, and the highest court in India, for example, is Supreme Court of India. So the Supreme Court have the power to interpret the constitution also and the powers of different levels of the government also. beautiful line is written that the highest court acts as an umpire. Such as in the game of cricket, umpire is all in all, his decision is final. Like that only the court also, the highest court in any country having federal form of government, I have given the example of India. So this highest court acts as what? As an umpire if disputes arise. That means if any conflict are there between different levels, suppose state government of any states and between the central government, any conflict or disputes arises, then who is the middleman? Who is there to settle all these disputes? The highest court. In case of India, it's the Supreme Court. Supreme Court will come and make the disputes settled. Clear? And the respective court will also tell them what is their jurisdiction. Now coming to the next point, that is number 6. Sources of revenue for each level of government are clearly specified to ensure its financial autonomy. That means what? Whatever the revenue are there for each level of government, maybe for central government and the state governments, whatever it is there in terms of revenue or money, it is clearly specified. It is clearly written what are the sources of revenue and which source of revenue are to be used by central government and which source of revenue are to be taken responsible by the state governments. It is specifically specified in the constitution. For what reason? For financial autonomy. So that this independence, whatever the independent thing, it must be there, as these two central governments and state government are not answerable to each of the other. So for this reason, for maintaining the financial autonomy, these are the sources of revenue are clearly being specified for maintaining financial autonomy. Clear? So coming to the last point of the features of federalism, that is, the federal system thus has dual objectives: to safeguard and promote the unity of the country while at the same time accommodate regional diversity. So what is the most important point of federal system is that it has dual objectives. Clear? It has dual objectives. That means two. Number one is to safeguard and promote the unity of the country. Whatever the federal form of government, wherever the country it is, the federal form of government is applied, there this federal form of government firstly does what? It safeguards and promotes the unity of the country. Clear? And along with that, at the same time, it accommodates regional diversity. That means what? As a whole country, it maintains the unity and it also looks after the regional diversity. As suppose, take example of India, it is maintaining the unity of the country also, as we have unity in diversity, many languages, many religions, many cultures are there. It is maintaining the unity also, and at the same time it is maintaining regional diversity also. It is giving importance to each and every regional states cultures. It is protecting regional states cultures, maybe of Assam, maybe of Kolkata, maybe of Tamil Nadu. It is trying to accommodate every regional diversity of the country. Clear? Therefore, two aspects are crucial for the institutions and practice of federalism. Governments at different levels should agree to some rules of power sharing. They should also trust that each would abide by its part of the agreement. An ideal federal system has both aspects, mutual trust and agreement to live together. So lastly, if we conclude about federalism, it can be said that apart from these 2 points, that safeguarding and promoting unity of country and accommodating regional diversity on the other hand, the conclusion about federal system can be written as that it also has another aspect, that is mutual trust is also there. Mutual trust between whom? Between the two forms of government, two or more. That means central government and state government, there is a mutual trust, and along with that they have also agreed to live together. That means having mutual trust, along with having mutual trust, they are also agreeing to do what? They are agreeing to live together by following this federal form of government or by following this system of government. So with this we come to an end of today's topic. So in today's topic we have come to know about federalism, what is federalism, then about the two levels of government, clear. Then we have made a comparison between unitary and federal government. Then we have read about the features of federalism, actually the 7 features of federalism, starting from first 2 or more levels, then secondly jurisdiction, third existence, fourth that it cannot be unilateral in terms of any decision. The number 5 was the power of the court, what does the court can do. The number 6 was financial autonomy, and last but not the least dual objectives, that is safeguarding and regional diversity. So I hope that whatever points we have learned today, it's very much clear to you now. With this I will wind up today's topic. Thank you.